we know, and whether or not, for example, they know all the modern, for example, modern physics, what we're talking about tonight, the modern astrophysics and astronomy that we know today. I am going to, from the outside, I'd like to make this clear, I'm going to make an assumption. You can disagree if you want, that they didn't necessarily know everything we know today. I don't think we're forced to say that. I think it is perfectly reasonable to say, and this, Rav Zuckerman told me he heard from his Rebbeim NYU, including Rav Shachta, that the Gemara and Chazal spoke based off their understanding of the time and based on, and therefore, and as such, I'm not forced to say that they knew what we knew today. That I said that is a very separate issue, which the Rishonim, including the Rambam, discuss. The Rambam, the Rambam, and is an extremely complicated discussion, so I'm not going to get into that. I'd like to stay away from that if possible. I'd also like to say that a lot of what I'm saying is, I'm not saying is definitively is the way to read the Gemara. I'm saying that it is a way that I believe is a way to read the Gemara, and anyone who wishes to disagree and wishes to have their own interpretation, they are more than welcome to. And if anyone wants to discuss with me, I'm more than happy to. But I said this is based off my understanding, my reading, and discussion I've had with Rav Zuckerman. So this is like a preliminary, as an introduction, as it were. So I'm going to start with if the Gemara Makaros, I'll put them on, I'll share my screen and they'll be put on screen to discuss a bit of basic astronomy, From the purpose of this discussion, we're going to discuss the world from the perspective of us standing on Earth. As such, if we're dealing in relativistic physics, as such, the world is a flat plane. We are standing, you stand at the center of what I'm going to refer to as your observable universe. Your observable universe has you in the center, and your observable universe is a hemisphere with surrounding you. In theory, it would be a full sphere, but because of planet we're standing on the ground, you can't see through the ground. And as such, your observable universe is a hemisphere, where the flat, what you're standing on is the ground, and you can see a hemisphere around you, right? The furthest reach of that is your horizon. You can't see beyond the horizon. So therefore, like I said, anything where even where we discuss a bit of modern astronomy, I'm going to discuss a bit of modern astronomy as well, we're discussing it from a relativistic standpoint of you standing in the center of your observable universe. With that said, I'm going to start with the Gemara. Let me share my screen. Should hopefully, there we go. Start with the Gemara in Eruvin. So the Gemara in Eruvin starts here, a few lines down, Tanu Rabbanon. It's a not too long. The first part isn't entirely relevant, but it's part of the long brisa. The Gemara here is discussing, if anyone at any point has any questions, please let me know. If something doesn't make sense, please tell me, and I hope I'll be able to explain it in a way that makes sense. The Gemara here is discussing Erev Tchumen. And so how you calculate the Tchum of a city, 2,000 amos from the city limits, how far you can walk on Shabbos. So the Gemara, the way you do this is you square the city. What exactly that means isn't entirely relevant, but this is going to discuss calculating the cardinal directions, i.e. how you can calculate north, south, east, and west based on the sun, based on the rising and setting of the sun. We all know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. This is an observable fact. However, the sun doesn't rise from the same point every single day. The sun has a range of different points. I'm going to have a few diagrams which I'll share in a few minutes, but let's first of all read the Gemara. The first part of this brisa isn't purely relevant, but it's preliminary, so we should read it. Tanu Rabbanon. The person comes to square the city in case of working out the Erev Tchumen, he has to square it according to B'Revuah Olam. B'Revuah Olam effectively is referring to the four directions. And as we see, Nosin Tzvon Olam. You put the north of the city to the north of the world. Obviously, north is effectively you're saying you work out where the north side of the city is by finding which way is north. That's north side of the city. But and you find the south side of the city by working out which way is south. The simon necha, and the simon, the way of calculating, or at least a way of aiding a person in calculating which way is north and which way is south. Agola b'tzafon, akrov b'doron. Rashi says the simon necha, the simonech, im ein yodei lekavin tzafon doron, agola b'tzafon, akrov b'doron, mazolos hein. These are mazolos. As far as I'm aware, agola is asa minor or asa major. I'm not quite sure. And akrov is Scorpio. If anyone knows the constellations, therefore you can calculate that. However, most people, especially nowadays, if I were to ask any of you, go into the night sky tonight, go outside, if you're in KBY, wherever you are, go tonight and point out Scorpio for me, I doubt very many people would be able to find Scorpio in the sky, ignoring light pollution. So Rabbi Yossi comes along and he aids us. Rabbi Yossi Omer, and I'm hoping what Rabbi Yossi says is somewhat familiar if you learned the Gemara on Chof Hey in the end of Lo Yachbar. If you can't calculate, if you don't know how to calculate the directions, north, south, east, and west, based on the planet, which way is north, but to ask you right now which way is north, you might be able to tell me based on which way you daven. Okay, that's Mizrach, depending on where you are in the world. So he says, Marava kamin hata kufas. You calculate based on the seasons. How do you do that? Ketzat. Where the sun rises on the longest day, we call the summer solstice. This happened last week, 21st of June. Where the sun rises on the summer solstice and sets on the summer solstice, this is north. When we see Rashi, this will become slightly clearer. On the shortest day, this is the winter solstice, December the 21st, the sun rises in the southeast and sets in the southwest. Tkufas Nisan, but Tkufas Tishrei, Chama Yotza b'chatzi mizrach b'shakas b'chatzi ma'arav. In Tkufas Tishrei Nisan, in the English term for this are the autumnal and spring equinoxes. It rises in the middle of the east and sets in the middle of the west. Shnei Amar, and this pasuk is also mentioned in the Gemara in Baba Basra. Shnei Amar, Holech el Dorim v'Sovev el Tzofa. That it's Holech el Dorim, and I'm just going to use the word Holech. I'm going to leave it as the word Holech, and the word Sovev, I'm just going to say Sovev because I don't want to translate them. I want to keep them because the Gemara explains what they mean. Holech el Dorim b'Yom v'Sovev el Tzofan b'Layla. That it's Sovev el Tzof, the Holech el Dorim b'Yom. It does whatever Holech is to the south during the day, and it's Sovev, whatever Sovev is, towards the north at night. Sovev Holech Aruch. What Sovev Holech Aruch carries on the pasuk. Edu pnei Mizrach upnei Marav pom mahalachton pom mesavavton. Let's stop it for a moment. We're going to look at Rashi. Just as a pointer, this Gemara here is what leads me, and Rashi here is what leads me to believe that the Gemara in Baba Basra is dealing in the real world. What I mean by that, it is dealing in the observable universe. There are other Mefarshim, the Maharal predominantly, and others, who explain that the Gemara in Baba Basra is entirely metaphorical. It is not referring to the actual passage of the sun. However, this Gemara here, which is telling you to calculate it based on the position of the sun, that's clearly talking about the world as we observe, as opposed to a mashal, or as opposed to a mashal, as opposed to symbolism. And Rashi here says very, very similar to what he says in Baba Basra. So Rashi here says, and I'm then going to show a diagram topic to hopefully explain this. He doesn't recognize the mazolos of Agola, the Akrov. According to Hiluch Sivov, which I think we can assume, which we can accept to mean the passage of the sun, Nikar Ezu Ruach Doromis, the Ezu Ruach Tzvonis. You can work out which way is north and which way is south. How do you do this? If anyone isn't sure where we are, that's where we are in Rashi. Chama Yotza b'yom Aruch, Osuruch Sh'ato Roa Shachama Yotza b'yom Aruch Shel Yemei Tekufas Tammuz. Well, the point on the horizon, at the edge of your observable universe, where you notice the sun rise on the longest day of the year, which is in Tekuvas Tammuz, the summer solstice. Yotzo betzido ha'achad, v'shokas ba'oso ruach atzmo betzido ha'acher. It rises in one side and it sets, and it rises on a certain ruach, on a certain side, and it sets on the same ruach. Ruach, I'm going to translate its direction, on the other side. Let's just read Rashi, and then I've got a diagram to help explain. During the sun always traverses from east to south. This is very, so I said, is very reminiscent of the Gemara in Baba Basra and Rashi. That's halichas chamo b'yom. Avo b'layla ein holech elot soviv mechutz lakipa. He goes mechutz lakipa. Kippah, to my understanding, is what is your observable universe, that hemisphere of what you observe in the of the world. Over Yom Horach, and on the longest day, Omedes here means rise, but Keren Mizrach Sephonis, it rises in the northeast. It doesn't rise directly to east of you, it actually rises northeast of you. Umahaleches Mizrach Darmav, it traverses east, south, and west. This is the we're going to discuss later on when we get to the Gemara in Bava Basra. V'shokas bekeren tzvonis maravis, and it sets in the northwest corner. Uvalayla soveves penei tzafon, and at night it is soveves. It does whatever sivov or soveves on the north side. Ulamachras on the next day. This is important point. Hayom niktzama, the day is slightly shorter. Then it yotza bekeren. It doesn't rise. Keren here, from my understanding, Rashi is saying the furthest north point. Elon nimshechas min hakeren. It's withdrawn from the corner, from the Keren corner, the northeastmost point. Ulam mizrach imat. It's withdrawn from it and slightly to the east. V'yotza, and it goes uve'erev shokas b'soch hamarof moshuach min hakeren ma'at. And then when it sets, it's not as far northwest as it was the previous day. This is, as we go into autumn from summer, right now the sun is doing this. It is today, for example, the sun didn't rise as far northeast as it did yesterday. And tomorrow it will rise slightly less northeast, or be slightly more south than it did today. And then the same with the sun setting. And at that night it is soveves, i.e., part of the passage it did during the day yesterday, it is now, which is called hiloch, is being sovev today, or tonight. What it was part of one day is part of the next night. V'kolat sofon, it does that bit and the whole north. Uma'at mizrach, and a part on the east. Yosem milel shelemesh, more than yesterday. V'chein b'chol yom, the same with every single day. Until you get to the autumnal equinox, middle of autumn, fall for the Americans, that day, the equinox, it rises in the middle of the east. The time we use that is directly due east. V'shokas, the emtzamar, it sets directly due west. Lefichach, hayom v'halaylo, shovin. That's why day and night are equal. On the summer solstice, you have the longest possible day. The winter solstice, you have the shortest possible day. And on the equinoxes, the day and night are exactly equal. And then going more into autumn, fall, towards winter, it carries on traveling that slightly further south. And it rises, and also in its setting, it's slightly south, for shokas, and it sets. And Tekufas Tevis, the winter solstice, it rises in the southeast. It traverses only Dorim, only is Holech Dorim. V'shokas bekeren ma'arav, it's Dorim, and it sets in the north, in the southwest. Sorry. Behind you, Taqalma, Chama Yotzo b'yom kotza, v'shokas b'yom kotza, zeu b'nei Dorim. Pnei Mizrach umar pom malachton b'yom. Beyomim ha'arukim, it sometimes during the east and west, are traversed during the day during the summer, right? It's beyond Marukin, the long days like we have now in the northern hemisphere. Or obviously, if you're in the southern hemisphere, the winter and summer solstices are switched. I'm going to the northern hemisphere. Sometimes is Mesavavtom, it does Sivuv, but Laila, that's the night, you need Kufas Tevis. So, if we just find this diagram here. So, this point over here, this center point here is you in your observable universe. What you do is, on the longest day of the year, you look to where the sun rises, which will be at this point here. Remember, for every point on Earth, these positions shift slightly. As you get closer and closer, let me explain quickly, and we'll talk about the variation. It will rise here. It will do a passage of, it will go across the sky, and it will set at this point. So you find over here, which ways you find where it rises on the longest day and sets on the longest day, and there's your north. On the shortest day of the year, it will rise here, and it will set here. This is southeast, this is southwest. And what you do is, this is south. On the equinoxes, you look, it will rise here, and it will set here. There's your east and west. As such, you can calculate, based on the rising and setting of the sun, where it is, you can calculate the four cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. I'm just going to pause for a moment in the Gemara. The Gemara here, if you carry on going, where, let me find it again, you have Rav Masharshia, Amar of Masharshia. Although Rav Masharshia objects to Rav Yosef, if we have time, we'll come back to this. I do not believe he is objecting to the reality because this is an observable fact. I find it very hard to say the Rabbanan didn't know according to a basic observation. Any person who watches the sun rise and set, if you were to sit and watch the sun rise and set every day, you would notice this. I believe he is arguing based on using it to calculate north and west, north and south. If we have time, we'll come back to this at the end. So that's the Gemara here. So just pause me a moment. So therefore, let's talk about a bit of modern astronomy. I hope everyone can see, I've got a bit of a video here. I hope everyone can see it. This just will go through the different positions. The green, the way you can see here, this is your observable universe. Your observable universe is the green disk. You stand at the center of the X. Currently, apologies for that. This is, according to modern astronomy, this is during the summer. You will watch the sun will rise. I hope everyone can see this. Here is what you would observe. And this is looking from the very, very top. This is this view on, that's the top left. The top right is what you would observe. And the bottom two are just looking at it from above in an angle, as if you were an external observer looking at your, like, third-person view of your own universe. If you notice a white dot on the disk, that is the point directly below the sun. The sun is represented by the yellow sphere. So if you watch, the sun will rise. So as you notice, the sun rises here in the northeast. It does this orbit. This is what you would observe if you were watching the sun. And then it sets at this point. It's just at this point the sun is setting. This point where the sun sets in the northwest, and then goes in from this is according to our knowledge nowadays, traverses on the underside of it because it's on the other side of the world, as it were. This is day effectively in the southern hemisphere in the summer. For us, in the winter for them. In the winter, this is what you would observe. The sun rises here in the southeast, rises. Now, if you notice, the sun doesn't go as high. This is also observation. And then will set there in the southwest. And the white circle represents the passage of the sun, just in case that wasn't clear. I hope everything I've said is clear so far. If anyone hasn't understood, please tell me before we move on. Is everything clear?
In the beginning of Rashi, when it says the sun goes from the east, it says from the east to the south, what's he referring to there? Like the second line.
So this is what we're going to get onto once we in the Gemara and Bava. So this is exactly the point that was the source of this chabura, was based on understanding what this means. Let's move into the Gemara in Baba Basra, and hopefully that will come clear. Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay. Carries on the Gemara says Gemara in Baba Basra. Right, the last line of Chaf Hey Amud Aleph. Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Olam l'achsadra hu doime. The world is like an achsadra. Baruch Tzafonis eino mesoveves. The north side is not mesoveves. And I'm not translating exactly because I want to read Rashi. V'kiven sha higia chama etzel kevin ma'arovis Tzafonis nichvefes v'oile l'mala min rakia. So Rabbi Eliezer understands the world is some kind of achsadra, as Rashi says, shein lo dofen revius. It's some kind of structure that only has 3 walls. The northern side is open. So the world has some kind of structure. There is some kind of walls or ceiling of some kind, and the northern side is open. Okay. And once the sun reaches the northwest, it rises over the rakia. Okay, what's rakia? Pause that a moment and keep these ideas. So we've got achsadra and rakia. So he says it's Olam min rakia. Says Rashi, Lamala min rakia, umahaleches es roch tzafon begago shel rakia. It traverses the north side, begago shel rakia. So seemingly rakia, the sky, if you want to translate, be a bit artfully, the word is used firmament. Seemingly the rakia is the sort of dome, is the edge of the universe, of our observable universe, i.e. the boundary of what you can observe. And it seems to be, whether it's has some kind of not material, but of substance. It seems to be of some kind of substance. I said, we're going to leave aside modern science. I just used the animation before as a guidance, just so you understood just a bit of the astronomy as to what we know about the sun and what you can observe about it. If you were to watch the sun rise and set every day for a year. The world is like a kuba. He says it's not an achsadra, it's a kuba. So the kuba, as Rashi says, it's a tent which is fully enclosed. So unlike Rabbi Eliezer, who holds this an achsadra, where there's an open side, which is on the north, Rabbi Yeshua says that it is closed on all 4 sides. B'kivan she'achama magas lekeren ma'arovis tzavonis makepes v'chozeres achorei kippah. Once the sun reaches the northwest corner, it is makepes v'chozeres achorei kippah. Shene'emar holech el dorom v'soviv el tzofan. Holech el dorom b'yom v'soviv el tzofan b'layla. Soviv holech haruch v'elsiu sov shav haruch eupnei mizrach upnei ma'arav. This is very, very similar to the Gemara in Eruvin. As we see, if we look at Rashi, it reaches the Keren Ma'arav Tzfonis at night. The sun always traverses the north side at night. And from the west, it turns north. That is its hiluch. Min ha-mizrach l'dorim, min ha-dorim l'ma'arav. The sun goes from east to south, from south to west, and from west to north. Through some kind of chalon, some kind of gap, some window that the sun passes through. This also aids to the seemingly belief that the rakia has substance to it. It is impermeable, or not impermeable, that it is opaque, as it were. You can't see through it, or I said you can define it in a few different ways depending on your personal preference. I'm not forced to say either one. But let's carry on. Rashi here is saying Rashi here, it says, and he's saying, like I said, very, very similarly to what he says in the Gemara in this is the Gemara in Eruvin. That the Hek of Hayom is called Hiloch. It's within the Chalal. Rashi also mentioned this in the Gemara in Eruvin, and as far as my best understand the word halal seems to me to be referred to your observable universe. Ves hekef halayla kori sivav shu makif bachutz. What it traverses at night is called hiluch, and that is bachutz. Bachutz lachalal, outside this halal, which the observable universe, your observable universe. On the shortest day, it will traverse at the barest minimum the south side. It never traverses less than the south side. Even on the shortest night, the summer, what we have right now, so when it comes to the east and west, what is this? The Yom Aruch, on the longer day, Shaltkufas Tamas right now, Shiotza Bekaren Sephonis Mizrachis, the northeast, like we saw in the Gemara Eruvin, but Shokas Bekaren Maravis Sephonis. Therefore, it traverses the east side during the day and the west side during the day. The Yom Kotzer, Shiotza Bekaren Mizrachis Teremis, the Shokas Bekaren Maravis Teremis. When it rises in the winter, where it rises in the southeast, and sets in the southwest, it will traverse the east and west sides during the night. At night, it traverses three sides. So the reading of Rashi and Gemara, the way it works is, on the longest day, it traverses east, south, west, and at night, it traverses the north, and that's during the summer, and during the winter, during the day, it traverses south, and during the night, it traverses west, north, east. Let's take a look at the Maharsha. The Maharsha ties this to the Gemara in Psachim, which is the next source. So the Maharsha is the Maharsha. Is everyone clear in the Gemara in Bava Basra? Anyone any questions? Okay, let's carry on to the Gemara, the Maharsha. On the base, this is him on Kofei on the base. Rabbi Eliezer Omer. Ha'olam hazeh doima lach sadra. Given shehegia chama eitzel kemen ma'arovis tzfonis, nichlepes va'oila lemala min arakia. Rabbi Shomer kamin kuba, the given shcham magas again tzfonis ma'arovis makefes. Quotes the Gemara. Nearly the pluktayu that the machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, b'mai de pligi perik misha haya tamein. Gemara in Psachim. Chachmei umas olam v'chachmei Yisrael. The Chachmei Umas Olam and the Chachmei Yisrael. There's a machlokes there. There are actually two. We're going to see them shortly. Chachmei Umas Olam Omrim B'Yom Chama Mahaleches L'Mala Min Rakia. During the day, the sun goes above the Rakia. U'alayla L'Mata Min Rakia. And during the night, it goes below the Rakia. The Chachmei Yisrael Omrim B'Layla Ola Hachama L'Mala Rakia. Chachmei Yisrael say the other way around. They say during the night, it goes above the Rakia. I.e., they flip it. The Hashtor Rabbi Eliezer kachachmei Yisrael. Rabbi Eliezer holds like the Chachmei Yisrael. Rabbi Yeshua kachachmei Umas Olam. Shehodilo Chachmei Yisrael lachachmei Umas Olam. Karamim pei mishaya tomei. The Gemara is we're going to see this Gemara. So the Maharsha ties the machlokes Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua into the machlokes Chachmei Umas Olam, Chachmei Yisrael. He says Rabbi Eliezer says like the Chachmei Yisrael. Rabbi Yeshua says like the Chachmei Umas Olam. Because it seems from the Gemara that the Chachmei Yisrael were moeder to the Chachmei Umas Olam. Okay. Now, the problem that arises is that if you look in the Gemara in Psachim, the Gemara in Psachim doesn't say what the Maharsha, at least the Girsa we have. The Girsa we have in the Gemara, which is the Girsa Rashi has. You'll see in a moment. There are two main Girsas in this Gemara. If you look in the various Rishonim and Achronim who discuss in general the whole thing of Chazal and science, this Gemara in Psachim is one of the main ones. But there are two Girsas. We're going to go according to the Girsa of Rashi. The Maharsha who ties the two together has a slightly different Girsa in the Gemara. If we look at the Gemara here, beginning with Tanu Rabbana, in this Brisa there are two machlokes. We're going to ignore the first one. There are those who tie the two together. The Rambam, when he in Moreh Nevuchim discusses this Gemara, he ties the two together as Rambam. I'm not going into the whole thing about the infallibility of Chazal and whether they knew modern science. So I'm not going to discuss that. So we're going to look at the way the Gemara we have it and look at the second one, which begins Chachmi Yisrael here, about halfway down, the end of the line. Chachmi Yisrael Omrim, Mayom Chama Mahaleches Lamato Min Harakia, Uvalayla Lamala Min Harakia. During the day, the sun traverses during the day, the sun goes below the Rakia, and at night it goes above the Rakia. Uvalayla, sorry. V'chachmi Yom Ha'olam Omrim, Valayla Chama Mahaleches Lamato Min Harakia, Uvalayla Lamata Min HaKarka. The Chachmei Amos Ha'olam say that during the day it goes below the Rakia, and at night it goes below the ground. The Gemara here, Rebbe then says Nirin Divrayim. We're not going to go into the whole thing about this discussion, because that's not the purpose I want to go into. Rashi over here, Hachi Yarsin, I'm just going to read Rashi. And if you notice, here's Makayim, the Girsa we have in the Gemara in front of us, and not the Girsa of the Marsha. We read Rashi, Hachi Yarsin, V'chachmi Umas Ha'olam Omrim, B'yom Lamato Min Harakia, Uvalayla Lamata Min HaKarka. The Marsha says slightly differently. He said that during the day it goes above the Rakia, and at night it goes below the Rakia. So to understand the Marsha, I find very difficult. Rabbi Eliezer, to fit, if we look at the Marsha, go back to the Marsha we have in front of us, Rabbi Eliezer says the sun, seemingly if he says the Rabbi Eliezer fits into the Chachmei Yisrael, that makes sense. Rashi keeps that. Rashi is the same Gerus in the Chachmei Yisrael. That I understand. He's saying during the day it goes below, and then as we saw in the Gemara, he says it goes l'mala min Rakia. That fits in perfectly. That makes perfect sense. The problem is that Rabbi Yeshua Gemara says he agrees about the way it goes during the day. He argues about the night. So seemingly he agrees that during the day it goes below the Rakia. But according to the Marshal's Girsa in the Gemara in Psachim, the Chachmei Umas Ha'olam say that it goes l'mala min Rakia during the day. That doesn't seem to go consistent with our Gemara. I struggle to find a way to reconcile those two, to say that Rabbi Yeshua says like the Chachmei Umas Ha'olam in the Girsa that the Marshal brings. In the Girsa that Rashi brings, you can actually fit, Rabbi Yeshua actually does seemingly fit in to the Chachmei Umas Ha'olam. Because you can say, he says during the day it goes lamato min Rakia, and at night it is, as Rashi says, as we look at the Gemara moment, the exact words are, he says, Makefes v'chozeres achorei kippah. Rashi says, mechotz, outside. So you could say that means underneath the ground. However, I am a bit, I don't feel right saying that, because his words don't seem to say this to me. At this point, this is where, feel free to argue, because if you want to and you have your own interpretation, please do. Like I said, and anyone wants to discuss this with me, please do. So I find it, to say that he's saying that, you could say that, I have an alternative. But let's start with Rabbi Eliezer. So what does Rabbi Eliezer hold? So as during me, I've got another video, a diagram. If you notice, unlike the previous little video I showed before, just the four views are the same. The two on the top are looking from exactly above, looking down at you. The top right is from your position, and the bottom two are a third person view on this side, looking at it from an angle. You notice in this one, there is a blue hemisphere going over it. In all of them except the first person view, the top right, I have just made the dome, the blue dome, slightly transparent so you can see for the purpose of demonstration. If you notice, for example, looking at the bottom, if you look in all of them, except most of them, you can notice that there is a gap. Well, this seems to be the way it says, which if you notice, it goes from approximately north. I said, I'm constrained a bit by the limitations of my skills in animation, and so they're not perfect. Also, the speeds and everything, these are just supposed to be used as demonstration. So the angles and the speeds are not to be taken as this is what happens. This is an approximation. So the sun is going right. If we notice, we also have the blue line. So if we, this is the point of sunrise right now. The sun has just risen. This is during the summer. It rises in the northeast. It's going to rise in the northeast. It will traverse. We notice notice at this point, if you look in the top left, if you notice where the white dot is, I know it is not so clear, but the white dot at this point, if we look at the video, is on the eastern sector of the circle. And at this point now, the sun has passed into the southern sector and is now passed into the western sector. And now, at this point, the sun sets. Now, according to what we understand today, the world effectively the sun goes on the other side, which we saw in the previous animation. But here, we're actually going to see something different. He says, it goes above, which is why this camera here follows the sun, in case I hadn't realized. If you notice, you can't see it. Right? This is at night. The sun goes above lamala min rakia, begago shal rakia, as Rashi puts it. The sun goes above, as you can see in the other views. The sun is going to go above and will go above this position. But if you notice in the other views, other than the first person view, you notice the sun is on the northern side. This is the sivov of the north side. So if you notice first north side goes above until it reaches the side down, then it will rise the next day, slightly to the south. So this makes sense, and this fits into the Rabbanan. But let's go to the winter, according to Rabbi Eliezer. Now, in the winter, you notice this is something slightly different. So, because I'm a bit wary and a bit hesitant to say that they knew modern science, the fact that the sun goes on the other side of the globe, I don't really want to say. I know that the Chachmei Umas HaOlam do, but if we look at Rabbi Yeshua a moment, and if we look at Rabbi Yeshua and then come back to Rabbi Eliezer, you'll understand why I put the diagram in the way it is. Rabbi Yeshua, as Rashi explains him, says that it goes mibachotz. He says achore hakipa. So I understand it somewhat like this. This is the summer. The sun rises in the same place, in the northeast, and it traverses also over here. As we see, it's on the eastern side. As we watch the sun rise and traverses, now it's in the southern side, and now at this point it's now on the western side, until it sets in the northwest. At this point, achore hakipa mibachutz. I believe that the sun, he believes the sun, I was limited. I picked up frozen. Is everyone following?
It cut out for a second.
Cut out for a second, I'm back. Okay. If I ever freeze again, let me know. At this point, I think he holds, and this is where, please argue with me if you disagree, and anyone who wants to discuss it with me, please do. Apologies, this is going on a bit long. Don't feel required to stay. It's a bit longer than, I don't know, a bit longer than normal, I don't know. The sun travels flat, and if you notice, as we carry on, it travels the northern side, outside the observable universe, beyond the Rakia, at which point it reaches a point where the sun is going to rise. Okay, now, if we look at what he holds in winter, we can extend this, because then the sun rises in the southeast, this is now traveling the southern side, which we said he holds during the winter, it only travels the southern side, is now going to set in the southwest, that's sunset, and now it traverses west, northeast, now that's traveling west, now that's north, and now traveling the east side. Like I said, in this view, you can't see it because the Rakia is impermeable, it has substance to it, and as such it represents the edge of the observable universe. Or if you want to say it's actually a entity, a actual substantial body of matter, or whatever you want to call it. Then it traverses until it reaches the point, yes?
So when you say observable universe, do you mean as in like Mars, Venus?
No. Observable universe means what you see. If you can see Mars during the night sky, that's part of your observable universe. Whatever you can see from where you are standing, it's your observable universe, which you stand in the center of. As such, your observable universe is a hemisphere because the limits of your vision are equal in all directions.
You can field of view, fine. Sure.
Your field of view, if you want to play that. That's why I call it observable universe as opposed to just your universe. You observe what you can observe standing where you are. Let's ignore the limitations of you're standing in a building with four walls around you. You can't see beyond your four walls. But let's assume you have no four walls, but you're standing on planet Earth because that's the norm. For humanity on planet Earth, we're ignoring being in space here. So therefore, to my mind, this is what Rabbi Shua holds. That it traverses, so therefore we see, what does Rabbi Shua hold? During the day, so the daytime travel is within, it's the arc above within the cholol, below the rakia, which you can observe. And at night, it is mibachutz, on the outside. And so therefore, the difference between during the summer and the winter, and as such, it varies. So what does Rabbi Eliezer hold? Now, to my understanding, he only argues about traversing the northern side. So if we go back to what he holds in the summer, what he says in the summer, we saw earlier, makes sense. It traverses within the rakia, below the rakia during the day, and goes above it at night. So what does he hold during the winter, where the sun only rises in the southeast? He said, and if we look at his words, we go back to what he says a moment, he says, the kiven shegia chama, eitzel kevin marov is tsefonis, nichlefes va'oile l'mala min rakia. He says that it is nichlefes va'oile l'mala min rakia only when it reaches the keren marov is tsefonis, northwest, which leads me to believe this, that the sun rises in the winter in the southeast, where the sun rises here and sets in the southwest. Okay, at which point it's now beyond our observable horizon, so it's out. So what does it do during, okay, but we know that it only goes above the north, now it needs to traverse west, north, and east during the night. But it only is nichlefes va'oile l'mala min rakia when it reaches keren marovis, tzfonis marovis. So what does it do? So to my mind, in this respect, he somewhat agrees to Rabbi Yeshua. He says, no, it traverses around the outside, like I said, flat on the plane, but outside your observable universe, on the Lamala min rakia. I know technically this isn't Lamala, it isn't above it, but I understand, and therefore the slight issue with my understanding is trying to fit all the language together, and to create a consistent language is not necessarily the easiest thing to do. However, I find it very hard to say otherwise. And so I know that the Lashon isn't, and the language is not perfect, but that's my personal preference. And therefore it traverses flat. Once it reaches northwest, nichlefes va'oile l'mala rakia, it goes above like it did during the summer. At which point it reaches the northeast corner. So where's it going to go now? The answer is, well, it's now going to traverse the eastern side. Well, it's the same as the west. It goes flat across the universe until it reaches the point where the sun will rise. Sorry. So I think this is an understanding in the Gemara that of what exactly is going on in the discussion between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shua. This creates a slight issue, because according to this, if we tie it into the Gemara in Pesachim, we now have the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, who fit into the opinion of the Chachmei Yisrael. If we want to tie the two together, according to the Maharsha. So if we want to, let's say we want to tie them together within the opinion, we could just say that they're not related whatsoever, and that solves all our problems. But if we want to say that they still are related, and therefore we can tie Rabbi Eliezer into the opinion of the Chachmei Yisrael, that makes sense. Well, who does Rabbi Yeshua say like? This is where we get into a bit of contention. In terms of Zuckerman, so he says, in theory, in this point, you could say the Rishua is a third opinion. I had a belief. Zuckerman doesn't agree to me on this. I haven't quite decided whether I think this is true. It is a possibility. I don't know whether to actually say it as a final point, to say this is what my explanation of the Gemara, and this is why I'm going into a world of much more supposition and hypotheticals than I have been until now, and say that you can fit Rabbi Yeshua into the Gemara, into the Chachmei Yisrael. What that means is that here what we say Lamala min rakia and what we say Lamala min rakia in the Gemara Pesachim means slightly different things. And I think there may be a Dirk and Rashi to support this. Rashi, the Gemara, I think that Lamala min rakia in the Gemara Pesachim means outside your observable universe, i.e. on the other side of the rakia, meaning even the bits where it's traversing flat on the east and west sides, it's still called Lamala min rakia. But what does it mean Lamala min rakia here? If you notice, Rashi says Begago shal rakia. Why does Rashi feel the need to say Begago shal rakia? To tell you that this, what Rabbi Eliezer means, he doesn't mean Lamala min rakia. And what it means in Psachim, he means actually above. The reason why we use Lamala min rakia there is because there, Lamala min rakia means two things. It means both traversing flat outside and traversing above the opening that Rabbi Eliezer says exists in the world. The Ruach Tzafonis Einu Mesoveves. Is any questions on that, or is everyone clear? Okay, assuming no one's got any objections. I'm seeing. I don't know. Do I still have time, Ziv? Do I have some time?
You're totally good.
I'm good. Okay, I'd like to go back just to end off. I'd like to go back to the Gemara in Eruvin. I apologize for the lighting in my room, but the sunset in London is within the next 10 minutes, and so I'm losing the light in my room. Longest days of the year when you're in the Northern Hemisphere. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Gemara in Eruvin, the Rav Mesharshir objects. We had this brisa, and we had Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Yossi told us something amazing, and it seemingly is true, and it works. Rav Mesharshir objects. So let's see Rav Mesharshir and see how I can reconcile Rav Mesharshir with the reality that we can observe. Rav Mesharshir here is in the Gemara. Over here, the first, over there, the first word on the line. Over Mesharshir, Lisninu lahani klali. These rules Rav Yosef tells you don't exist. Rashi, if we just look on the here, says. Lisnu hani klali the amr la'el chala yotza b'yom arach. The rules of Rabbi Yossi, aren't true. Why? He says, Detanya lo yotza chama me'olam mikeren mizrachas tzafonis. The sun never rose mikeren mizrachas tzafonis in the northeast Keren. V'shokar b'keren marovas tzafonis. Lo yotza chama mikeren mizrachas deromis. V'shokar b'keren marovas deromis. Says Rav Mesharshir. We have a brisa which says the sun never rose in the northeast Keren and it never set in the northwest Keren. The sun never rose in the southeast Keren and it never rose and it never set in the southwest Keren. And therefore you cannot calculate north, south based on this. He does not object to you calculating east and west based, although he says this nulahani kloli, based on the brisa, he does not object to the sun rising and setting on the equinoxes. The problem with this is, but this contradicts what we can observe. So how can we reconcile Rav Mesharshir we need to observe? I'm just going to emphasize, we're not reconciling him with modern astronomy and with modern understanding of the passage of the sun, based on all the information we have today, based on the advances in technology. This is going on basic human observation. Rashi, as he explained, Rabbi Yossi, is observation, not science per se. It's observation any human can do. And the his whole point, he's telling you, if you don't know the mazalos, you don't know science. But if you explain this to any person and he sits there for a year, he can do this. So what's Rav Mesharshir saying? I think he's saying is this. If we noticed, what did Rabbi Yossi say? He said, you look at where the sun rises on the longest day and sets on the longest day, that is north. Where it rises on the shortest day and sets on the shortest day, that is south. So I'm going to bring up another diagram. This one is not a video, it's just a normal diagram. If we look at this diagram, I just put some colors in. If you, seemingly Rios is saying, look where the sun rises on the longest day. Look where the sun sets on the longest day. And between those 2 points, that is the northern direction. That's the northern direction. However, there is a slight problem. If we were to, effectively, the northern sector of the circle of the circle is 1/4 of the circle. Okay, I'm sorry if I'm spelling out the obvious. In order for that to work, the sun would have to rise directly northeast of you. And the sun would have to rise directly northwest, set northwest of you, i.e., this point here is exactly 45 degrees from north. It is therefore directly northeast of you standing in the center of this point. This point here, effectively, I've put the colors in to aid this. However, in Israel, I looked this up, the sun never, ever rises directly northeast. The sun will never rise at 45 degrees from north. The closest the sun ever rises to north, on the summer solstice, the sun will rise slightly south of that, at about 60 degrees. This point here, where the black line meets the edge of the circle. And the sun never actually sets directly northwest of you. It is slightly south of that, at this point here. According to, if you were to calculate which way is north, effectively, your east and west sides would be squashed. This sliver, this part of the red here, you'd color in blue. And this bit of green here, you'd color in blue. The same in the winter, where the sun rises. The sun doesn't rise southwest of you, it's actually southeast of you, sorry, and set southwest of you. Here, at this point here, and this point here, respectively, it actually rises slightly north of that, over here, and over here, sets over there, and this point here. And as such, your eastern, your northern sector would not actually be a quarter of the circle. It would actually be more than that. You would expand, apologies if anyone's struggling with this, I did make another diagram for this. This bit would be blue, and this bit would be blue. This bit here would be yellow, and this bit here would be yellow. And so you'd have a slightly warped sense of north and south. And therefore, if you notice, and this fits in quite well into Rabbi Yossi, because Rabbi Yossi is saying, if you notice, he says, where it rises and sets, that is north. Hold a second, it rises and sets in a different place. He's referring to a region. But if you notice where it rises and sets in the winter, that's south. But they rise and sets in a different place. So he means the region between those 2 points, I believe. When it comes to the equinoxes, the sun rises, he says the sun rises, he doesn't say ze mizrach, he says emtza mizrach, emtza mariv, the middle of the eastern sector, or as we call it today, directly, or as we would call it, directly due east. As such, Rav Mashash is saying, your calculation of north and south isn't accurate, because in order for it to be accurate, to calculate the northern sector of the circle, that would have to mean that the sun would rise directly northeast and southeast and set directly northwest and southwest, which the sun does not in Israel. If you go slightly further north in Israel, it will. And as you go beyond that, it actually will. In the UK, for example, where I am, it's actually the X is actually the other way around. The northern eastmost point where the sun rises is actually somewhere around here, and it sets around here. The X is much taller than it is wider. As you get closer to the North Pole, it actually becomes closer and closer to a vertical line. As you get closer and closer to the equator, it gets closer and effectively the X gets squashed. So as you get closer to the equator, it gets squashed to a almost horizontal line. This accounts to in the northern South Pole, a massive seasonal variation between summer and winter, whereas in the equator, there is almost no seasonal variation. And that's why I think what Masharshia says does not uproot this whole observation that we can make about the observation of the sun rising and setting and how this ties into Basra. He's just subjecting using it to nowadays. You would actually be able to do this if you know a bit of maths and you can do an angle bisector. You would be able to find true north based on this, because midway between this point here and this point here is directly north. But he's not saying which way is directly north. He doesn't say emtza tzafon. He says zehu pnei tzafon. And therefore, I think to round it up, so I think this now we have a somewhat of an understanding of the Gemara in Eruvin such that it doesn't contradict the observation of us of the universe, and also we can understand slightly more of Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer to understand what they actually hold, and how this does or doesn't tie into the Gemara in Psach and the Machlekas Chachmei U'Mesolam and Chachmei Yisrael. I hope this is clear. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. If anyone wants any of the diagrams and animations or videos, please contact me, let me know. I'm more than happy to share them. And as I said, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask now or in the future. And if anyone has any other interpretations, please do let me know, because this is a topic. Astronomy is a slight hobby of mine, and so it's something I try to understand. Like I mentioned, there are those. One among them is the Maharal, who says this is in the Gemara in Baba Basra is allegorical. He ties this into the Gemara in Psachim, and he says that's also allegorical, and it's not referring. He says it is not referring to an actual observation of the universe. At least that's my understanding. I looked in Maharal, so I can't read. I did a cursory glance at it and decided it was beyond the scope of this chabura. So thank you everyone for listening, and I hope you followed. And thank you very much for your time. I know this has been rather long, so thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Franska.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
very much.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
very much.
Shkoyach, Eitan.